Okay, so we are about to listen in on a conversation between Cameron from MonkeyPod and our good friend, Mr. Paul Sokol, who is an expert in paid traffic strategies. And the goal for this conversation is to launch paid ads on Facebook and anywhere else that will help drive traffic to a lead magnet that MonkeyPod is offering, with the goal of turning those leads into customers that buy our Fundamentals of Business Automation framework. And to do that, Paul is going to walk us through his 3-part OAC, OAK framework. That stands for Objective, Audience, and Creative. Now, this is usually a paid consultation, but Paul agreed to sit down with us and coach us through his process for the Lead Magnet docuseries that we produced under the MonkeyPod umbrella here. But the version of this conversation that got released with that docuseries was heavily edited. It was an abridged, 10 or 12 minute version of this conversation. And it just felt to me like a missed opportunity, because the full conversation was rich with strategic insights and guidance that I think can serve a lot of people, especially if you run paid ads or you want to run paid ads for your business. So I wanted to release the full conversation here in case it serves all of you. And by the way, Paul is really good at what he does. So if you need help launching paid ads for your business, feel free to reach out to him directly and tell him MonkeyPod says hi. Okay, let's listen in.
So can you just tell me where to start? What are we doing? How are we going to get people to download this thing?
I think you're going to really appreciate this whole process. And I'm excited to go through this because usually these are like private conversations. This is literally the work that it takes to get good ads out. Because just like with automation, advertising is its own skill set, but the planning is still very important. If you just go out there willy-nilly and just try and run ads, it's probably not going to work. You might get lucky, but it's probably not going to work. So whenever we're doing advertising, think of it like oak, like the tree, except it's OAC, where it's your objective, your audience, and your creative. You need to have those things clearly defined, and then you can have some kind of success running ads, right? And so we know that the objective is lead generation, but we need to actually be even more specific with that. So are we looking to do a traditional lead generation where we run traffic to a web page and then people opt in on that page? Or do we want to do like lead ads where people don't even leave Facebook? They just, a form opens up on their feed, it pre-populates whatever Facebook has on file. They can obviously change the info, and then we just spit that over into the CRM.
When you ask the question of like, is the objective to get people lead ads versus like getting them to click off of the platform onto our landing page, like, I don't know. Like my brain, as you ask this question, my brain is immediately like, because like we've got a pretty landing page, but it's off of Facebook. So like, what's the right answer if I don't know the answer?
I usually like to go with lead ads because it reduces the friction, because people don't have to click, wait for a page to load, and you know that not everyone's going to wait for a page to load. Then the landing page has to sell them on why they should opt in. Whereas with a lead ad, it's the ad itself that's kind of selling them on becoming a lead, and then they just click and bang, here you go ahead and give us your info. And when I say objective, remember that advertising, it's literally an auction. It's you in a room as an advertiser with a bunch of other advertisers bidding on the right to show a user an ad. And so that's why choosing the objective very specifically is very important, because the auction room for lead ads is a different auction room than for traffic, or a conversion ad pushing for a lead, which is different than the auction room for engagement on a post or viewing a video. I think our objective is going to be a lead ad. And so now we're going to actually start planning that out, and then we'll get to clearly defining the audiences. And then once we're clear on that, then we can actually start writing the creatives. And I know you gave me a couple of images that we can use, which is perfect. And then we can write the ads around that. This is the ad plan that we use. And it's modeled, this is specifically for Facebook. It's modeled after how Facebook does objective audience and creative here. So the objective, of course, is to drive leads for the new language of automation refactoring, right? Now let's talk about budgets. So do you want this to be like just like a short test, or should we like have this as like an ongoing thing that, you know, we can turn it off when we want? Is there a specific budget that you're being held to?
I feel anxious about saying, you know what, run it for a couple weeks and then turn it off, because I feel like you could say, well, then you won't have any evidence, you won't have any opportunity, you won't have any refinement. And then I'm also worried about saying, oh, it's just going to be brilliant, let's spend money for 6 months, right? Like, my hope is that we do well enough at this that this can be the entry point for hundreds of people to get their first impression of MonkeyPod over many, many months. If this goes well, I would love to keep it turned on to brand new people until we decide to turn it off.
We can always just turn it on and off, right? And so I would say let's plan for this to be something that's just ongoing and evergreen, and we can adjust the budgets up or down as needed. So to start then, how much are we comfortable spending per day or per month?
You said earlier in the call, and I've heard people out there on the internet talk about a $10 a day budget. That doesn't bother me in the slightest, right? Like if we were at $250 to $350 a month because we're putting $10 a day every day of the month into an ad, that works. I feel perfectly fine with that. But also, if you said like you're going to get into that, you mentioned an auction room earlier. If you tell me I'm going to get in the auction room and get like hammered by other people, I'd be up for that feedback too. But like my gut says like 10, 12, 15 a day so that we hit 300 to 450 a month.
Okay, then let's say that then. Let's say $15 a day, because when you think about budget, it's exactly like direct mail. It's just how many letters you're going to send out. You know, if you send out 100 letters, that's going to be slower results than if you send 1,000 letters, right? And it's just the shipping cost. So I think $15 a day is really good. And do you have a target customer profile or target avatar?
We do, and it's shifted a little bit in the last kind of year or so, because we've always worked with people who are already enthusiasts about Keep or similar marketing automation tools. We've always worked with people who like can put their hands up and say, I'm a automation DIYer, is what it's been historically. Now that we're doing the fundamentals, we're thinking more about an entrepreneur or a business manager who maybe doesn't even recognize that what they want is automation. Right? They know that they have like business inefficiencies. They know that maybe some of their colleagues, their friends at the networking groups are using like better tools and systems and processes and seem to be less stressed than them, but they might not actually know that like automation is the answer yet. So they're entrepreneurs, business managers who are in the process of growing their business. They've outgrown the idea of using Google Sheets and Apple Notes to run their businesses, but they're about to like start to find places where better tools and systems work. And then there's one slightly separate one, which are people who have bought a bunch of tools but never made them work. They're frustrated. They're like, I signed up for a CRM, I signed up for a calendar booking tool, I signed up for an invoicing tool, and they didn't solve my problems. I'm about to quit and cancel them all. That's kind of like the B market.
Let's call them struggling Stevie. It sounds like they're probably somewhere like maybe they're problem and desire aware.
100%.
They're not unaware of the problem like entirely, but they at least have a problem. Okay, cool.
I think you're right on, right in that like the PS, the 2-3, like.
Okay, cool. So this is where we need to have the conversation. So I'm glad that I'm actually. Your answer to that question did a lot more than I was expecting, because when we're writing the ads, this is where we need to have a conversation with them. We got to enter the conversation where they're already at, right? So cool. So that's good to know. So this is the objective portion, right? And then when we're done with this and it's loaded, we're going to go ahead and hyperlink the campaign right here. So you're always one click away from it to make it easy for you. Let's go ahead and talk about our audiences, which in Facebook, they are known as ad sets. The ad set is where all the audience stuff comes into play. There's 4 classes of audience possible ever. There's the owned audiences. These are the things that you own. So this is like your list of emails, phone numbers, your website traffic. There's the platform-based audiences, which is like your Facebook followers, Instagram engagers, video viewers, that kind of stuff. And then there's the related audiences, so lookalikes, if there's specific competition you're going after. And then the last class of audience is the data-driven one, which is where you're just scooping into various interests and then slicing and dicing here. And so let's start filling this in here. So we're definitely going to exclude, I'm just going to say like house email list. So if they're listed, so if they're already there, we don't want them to see these ads because you want to get new people, right? We also need to exclude the, I'll just say LOM, redeemers. So, because we can make an audience of people that have filled out this instant form. So we want to exclude those folks. For our included audiences, let's do our website traffic. But again, I don't want to do all the website traffic. Let's do like the top 25% of website traffic, meaning that like the people who have spent the most time on the website, right? Do you already have your Facebook pixel on the MonkeyPod site? And you do. You've got your pixel here. So obviously, we can't go ahead and make a list of, website viewers unless this is here. But this is great. So you've got years probably of data from your website pixel. Awesome. For the name of this audience, we'll just call it like website visitors, right? Okay, cool. So included audiences, excluding these. And we do still need to have basic demographics. We still got to do like ASL, right? Going old school, internet, age, sex, location, and language.
I think struggling Stevie is predominantly 30 through 55.
No, that's perfect. That's a good range. I'm assuming that it's all genders. Location. Where do these people live?
It's predominantly the United States of America.
Okay.
But because it's a digital product delivered in the English language, we have learners and members in Australia, in Canada, in the United Kingdom, Scotland, Italy. Like we have customers and members in pretty much the entire English-speaking demographic of the world. So I would say that the United States of America is big, and Canada is second, but also others are important. So
okay. So now the question is, do we want to pay money to target countries that are not the United States? Because here's something that's easy to not realize. Yeah, we can target US, we can target Canada, UK, Australia, all those kind of jazz. But remember, it's an option. And so the cost to reach people, there's big differences in that. It's almost like social postage, right? There's big differences between countries. So if we were to say, okay, we're going to go ahead and do the US and Canada, if we say, hey, we're going to do $15 a day, US and Canada, Meta is going to skew towards showing it to more Canadians because those options are cheaper. So if we did want to do that, I would actually recommend breaking it into two different audiences, web visitors US, web visitors Canada.
I'm okay with the United States.
In addition to being 30 to 55 in the US and speaking English, they have to be in the top 25% of our website viewers, minus house email list, and people have already redeemed it. Okay, so the last thing in the audience to consider is the placement of this. And you can see that there's a lot of control over where we want stuff to show up. But again, this is our template, right? So I'm just going to recommend that we don't even worry about that. And we just do the auto placement. So here's our first audience. So website visitors. So the next one was the platform audience, right? Let me go ahead and show you. So these are all the different kinds of Class A audiences, the platform audiences, right? So we can do stuff off video views, lead form. This is how we go ahead and create that list of people that we're going to exclude, right? If you're doing events or anything like that. But traditionally, we'll do Facebook page. And even on a Facebook, you can choose, people that actually follow you or people that have engaged with you or specific kinds of interactions, right? So for this, what I'm going to recommend is we do just either people follow you or they've engaged with you. So we know that here there's going to be the MonkeyPod Facebook followers, MonkeyPod Facebook engagers, and then MonkeyPod Instagram followers, and then the MonkeyPod Instagram engagers. Same exclusions. And then we also want to make sure we're excluding the website visitors too, because we don't want people to be in two different auctions. There you go. So now this will have these three, and then these are basically going to be the same. We'll say these are the same ASO right now. I try to make sure that my audiences are as clean and segmented as possible, just like a good CRM, right? Because like, if somebody's visited your website a bunch, chances are there's a good chance that they also follow you on Facebook, right? So, okay, Meta, we're bidding on this person, because remember, at the end of the day, it's a person. Are they in this auction, or are they in this auction? So the next one's the related, or the similar audiences, and in this case, in Facebook, those are lookalikes. So lookalike audience is where we take any one of these custom audiences and we say, all right, Facebook, go find people that in your infinite, machine learning wisdom, go find people that look similar to this. What would be good, actually, is let's actually do a lookalike of customers, right? So let's go ahead and go into Keep, do a lifetime customer value report, export that, because when you're uploading a customer list, you can give a value in addition to all the other data points to Facebook. So it's a value-based list to say, okay, not only is it, this person's name and email, whatever, here's how much money they've actually busted out their wallet for. Lookalikes of customers, house email list redeemers, minus basically everything else that we've already been bidding on. So a lookalike sounds great, which it is. It's fantastic. But think of it like a giant shoal of fish, like there's just massive people, right? We could say, okay, Meta, here's this shoal of fish, go find leads. What's better is to say, not only is here this shoal of fish, start at this point and then go from there. And so what we want to do here is whenever I'm doing a lookalike, I also like to give it like one other data point to cross it with. Either they're like, they're like a business owner, or they're interested in CRMs, or they're in like a decision-making kind of position. For this, at least, let's do a business page admin. Okay. So not only a lookalike, they also have to be a business page admin. And it's very interesting if you look just in the United States alone, that's only about 3.5 million people. So we should be able to find some stuff in the middle there. Okay.
Paul,
Okay.
it just feels super productive and super detailed, right? Like to go from the hundreds of millions of Facebook users down to this super narrow, those who are in our list and go to our website, and then back out to like this calibrated level was interesting and kind of cool to see that come together. Even though you said it's an art and science, like we still have to prove this, right? We still have to put a couple dollars into the ad platform and prove this. That it feels like a lot of work. Like we probably burn some calories in our brains while we do that. But does definitely feel productive. So next meeting we go into some copy, like some actual ad creation. We make these Google Sheet audiences exist in my ads account, right, or MonkeyPod Corporation's ad account. Fund that up with some credit cards, and then have a plan to monitor it and to refine it and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, this is a lot of work. It's a lot of calories. That's why that conversation we just went through, that's a paid conversation. Just like with automation, you pay for a plan. Like that's the very first step. And then that defines the scope of what we do. And then the cost to build it is based on the scope of what we did. So.
Okay, so we're picking up where we left off, where we have our 4 audiences. And the big thing that I learned when we talked about those 4 audiences is that you're essentially excluding them in like a cascading or laddering type of experience, right? Now we're moving on to figuring out like what we're going to, and we've also talked about how the form feels already. Yeah. So really we're at the spot right now where we're creating the 4 pieces that people are going to see while they're scrolling on the platform. Right? That's where we're at.
It's the actual literal ad. Usually when people hear ads, they just think of like the thing that people see, but they completely forget that they're in an audience somewhere, and much less what even is the auction for it, right? Sokol won't even tell you what auction you're in. They'll tell you, why are you seeing this? Like, kind of a little bit.
Yeah.
But no. So, do you chat GPT some ads?
I did. And if anybody's watching this later and wondering like, hey, why does my chat GPT not perform this way? These aren't perfect. Like, I'm sure that Paul and I are going to fix these. We're looking for inspiration, right? We're looking for the 80% of the hard work to be done, and then, or the creative work to be done, and then we're going to make them quality together. But if anybody's wondering, maybe why these look different from what you get, it's because one, I pay for ChatGPT. I'm on the basic like $25 pro plan or whatever it is. But I have a Voice of MonkeyPod custom GPT. I've given it a lot of stuff. I fed a whole bunch of the journey emails from MonkeyPod into it. I've done a whole bunch of former blog posts into it. So, while it looks like ChatGPT, we're actually in the one that's called the Voice of MonkeyPod Copy Assistant that's got some stuff primed up into it. So,
yeah, no, it is. I'm excited to see what y'all come up with. And Greg sent over these 3 images to use, and I think that these are perfect for using for that. And if anything, maybe we just get like a real handsome picture of Greg as like the other, because people like to see people. The data is going to tell us, right? We don't know. The fact is, we actually have something here, so like let's go with it. We know the angles we want to go for. Like the different vectors, of attack. Like, we know that we definitely want to like really push on the free angle. We definitely want to push on a benefit angle. Here's the top 5 reasons, which we could do the positive or negative. Like, here's the top 5 reasons to get it, or be a little cynical, like, here's the 5 reasons you don't need to get it. You're like wasting time manually. And then here's the on a mission kind of angle. But yeah.
Here's where we are. You and I have been working together for 3 consecutive days. Fortunately, not entire full day, 7-10 hour days. But over the previous 3 days, we've been working through the strategy and the process of getting these ads set up. And I've learned a ton from you about that.
It's all about planning. You got to be clear about what are you trying to do before you actually do it.
Yeah, we had to define some of their interests that would, align with the aspirations of the interests that might drive somebody to want to take what we have to offer.
Yep.
Okay, so after we got our audience dialed in, we had to spend some time working on the creative part of this. And this was also a really interesting process because it felt like, everything was an option, but we still had to narrow down and make some decisions.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we did between one of our calls and the second of our calls was that I turned to ChatGPT. I didn't turn to ChatGPT because I thought it was going to do a better job than you and I could do. I've trained a custom GPT to the Voice of MonkeyPod. So we gave it lots and lots of information. And in the overnight between one and another of our meetings, I asked it what types of, how that copy might look, how that creative might look. And you also shared with me the various approaches, the types of messaging that works for different types of ads. I got to spend a little bit of time taking, your advice from your document and some, prime the engine a little bit around what ChatGPT thought those ads could sound like. And we still had to do like the last 20% of the work together, but it did give us a pretty decent little head start to hear what might sound right and then manipulate it a little bit more as we go. So we worked through, like you said, MonkeyPod isn't special in this context, right? And all of the chaos that I might have felt about, putting together a more sophisticated ad strategy for the first time, was able to follow that sequence, right? Objective, it's about leads. How much am I willing to spend on those leads? Audience, who do we already know because of who's in our mailing list? Who do we know because of having already come through our website and be cookied or tokened because of coming through our website, versus lookalikes versus brand new aspirational people. Then moving into the content part, a new dedicated meeting, primed the engine a little bit by gaining some inspiration from your angles document as well as ChatGPT, workshopping the final copies of those things, and ultimately putting ourselves into a position where we're going to turn it on. And that's where we're at right now, right? We did a call about O and A, then we did a call about C, then we transferred all of that stuff by a big copy and paste exercise based on the strategy document into the Facebook ads platform. We're ready to turn it on. Let's get this thing learning, spending, hopefully driving some traffic. And then when I see you in a week at PartnerCon, I'd love it if we could find a few minutes together to take a look at one, how these are performing, and two, whether or not we should keep doing it or not. Because again, I don't think this is as much fun as you do. I'm about to see some real money, not a lot of money, but some real money go out the door. So I'm gonna ask you to tell me if we should make a substantial change or stay the course. So let's see how it goes. So Paul, thank you for your expertise. Thank you for coming in as our ad strategy partner on this. And we'll see you real soon.